So I want you to imagine this. It's a rainy Wednesday. You've had a long, hard day and you're on the way home. You're tempted to like grab a pizza to reward yourself. But then you remember you have salmon and you have broccoli in the freezer. And then you remember this recipe. Jules said salmon plus broccoli equals a super easy and satisfying dinner. And you think to yourself, I can do that. So let's jump into the kitchen and I'll show you exactly how you can do that. Oh, actually, but before we do, let me introduce myself. So I'm Jules Clancy. I'm a former food scientist. Now I'm a extremely simple cooking coach. So I really focus on making things as easy as possible. I live in Australia, and today I'm doing double denim, a denim apron and a denim jacket. And I also have a bit of a fetish for hats. But anyway, let's jump into the kitchen, and I'll tell you more about the recipe after I show you how to make it. Okay, salmon and broccoli couldn't be easier. So I've got 2 fillets of frozen salmon. Just sprinkle over a bit of salt, so they're still frozen. And I'm using 2 because they're pretty small. And then we've got half a packet, so 250 grams, 9 ounces of frozen broccoli. And if they're kind of big chunks, you might want to break them up. And I'm just going to pop them in a hot oven for, we'll check it after about 12 minutes. Great, so that's had 12 minutes in a super hot oven, so 250C, which is 480F. And broccoli's starting to char, it's looking nice and cooked. The salmon's looking lovely. The skin's crisped up a little bit, and I think that's ready to serve. If you're not sure, you can always cut into the fish and see if it's cooked enough for you. So to serve, I've just got some commercial hummus here that my Irishman has been stealing on me. Tara. So it's a couple of tablespoons, generous tablespoons of hummus. Or you could use any of those dips that you get from the deli or from the supermarket. Actually, this would be really nice with a beetroot one or an eggplant-based one. Or you can make your own, of course. And then we're going to put our salmon on. I'm going with the 2 salmon fillets because I'm feeling greedy today. And then broccoli can just go in on the side. And then to finish, I'm going to sprinkle it with, you could use some pine nuts if you wanted to, or some lemon zest, but I'm going to go with za'atar, which is a Middle Eastern spice blend. It's got sumac in it, so it's quite lemony, sesame seeds, and then za'atar itself, which is like a herb, dried herb, which is beautiful and just goes really well with the hummus. And then also just a little bit of salt at the end. So, or some nice sea salt flakes would be good here too. Okay, so if you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe to my Stone Soup channel. And I've promised you the story behind this recipe. And basically, I am obsessed with this frozen salmon. Like, it's from Aldi. It's not expensive. And yeah, I love just cooking it straight from frozen. Like, it just cooks up incredibly well. And I also really love frozen veggies and frozen broccoli. It may not seem too exotic or too sexy, but it does. Like the two of them combined just give you this bowl of amazing goodness. And yeah, like hummus, like it's pretty amazing. Like the commercial hummuses that you can get these days, they're really delicious. And if you look at on the shelf life, they last for ages, like months in the fridge, and you can freeze them as well. So you could have all these things ready to go just for one of those random nights where you don't feel like cooking anything. And this will be so much easier. Well, actually, it will be easier than going out to get takeaway. And also, the beauty of this is, like, as it's in the oven, you can go and get changed and put your comfy clothes on and be all ready, pour yourself a glass of wine if you want. And yeah, like, so just what I would highly recommend, next action step is make sure you put salmon and broccoli and hummus on your shopping list. And I promise you, your future self will thank you. Okay. And so one of the things that makes my recipes unique is that they are like insanely simple. But the other thing is that I always include variations at the end to help you if you've got different dietary requirements or if you happen to be out of a particular ingredient. So let's go through and I'll show you some more ideas with you. So if you're vegetarian, of course, salmon's not going to be an option, or if you don't like fish. So canned chickpeas here would be my go-to. So I'd actually
roast the chickpeas in with the broccoli, and they're going to crisp up a little bit, and then you'll have the kind of crispy chickpeas and the broccoli with the hummus. It'll be really, really satisfying and really delicious. And the other option, of course, if you don't have chickpeas, like any canned beans will work, or even canned lentils, you can like cook them in the oven and let them crisp up a bit, and it'll give you a surprisingly substantial meal. The other option, of course, is if you're a tofu lover, season your tofu really well first, and maybe even toss some spice on it, dice it up, and then have that on the roasting tray with your broccoli. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of tofu. If you do eat animal products and you're looking for different protein, of course, chicken is going to be amazing, sausages, meatballs, pretty much anything that is going to cook in the oven in 10 minutes will be really good. You can use other fish fillets. It doesn't happen to be salmon. And you can be using fresh salmon as well. If you are using fresh fish or chicken, it probably won't take the 12 minutes to cook because we're cooking at a really high temperature. So just if that's you, then just I'd check it after 9 or 10 minutes, depending on how hot your oven usually is. And then in terms of different sauce options, any of those dips that you can get at the supermarket are going to be great here. But if you don't have any of those, you could just, if you've got tahini in the pantry, you could just make a quick tahini sauce. Just mix equal parts, like a couple of tablespoons of tahini with a couple of tablespoons of water, and then stir it. If you want it more drizzly, you can add more water. If you want it thicker, add more tahini, bit of salt, like that's amazing. And you can add lemon to that as well. Or like any sauce that you happen to have. If you've got mayonnaise, like use that. If you've got pesto, use that. Like the salmon and broccoli work really well with a lot of different flavors. In terms of different vegetables, like any frozen veg are going to work well. Like, and it's always the same. You just cook them straight from frozen, and that gives you the best results. Even I've made it with frozen kale, like the little things, and just pop them on, and they've, like, in the time that the salmon's taken to cook, the kale's all defrosted and ready to go. So that was a surprising thing. I hadn't thought to use that. And then, of course, you could use fresh vegetables as well. If you don't mind chopping, you could chop up some fresh broccoli, and it'll cook in about the same amount of time as the frozen. So, yeah, like any vegetable, snow peas were really lovely here. Like, the world is your oyster. Like, there's so many things that you could play around with. If you want to make it more substantial, increasing the protein, increasing the amount of vegetables, of course, will do that. Or if you love carbs, serving it with some pita bread can be nice, or some wraps. Or if you've got tortillas, they'll work, or bread, toast will work. And then if you're looking for like a low carbon to make it more substantial, some chunks of avocado can be really lovely, or I'd go with roast nuts. And then in terms of like different flavor bombs you can play around with, so I've used za'atar, which is this Middle Eastern. It's a blend of sesame seeds and what else? It's actually a herb called za'atar as well, which is similar to oregano or thyme, like in that kind of flavor spectrum. So it's got that dried herb, it's got the sesame seeds, and then sumac, which is a Middle Eastern spice. And so it's really lovely, of course, with the hummus. But if you you could just use freshly ground black pepper. That will give you that like excitement. If you wanted some spice, ground coriander is probably the closest match to za'atar. Like, that just gives you that lemoniness, freshness. Pomegranate seeds would be lovely here. Roast nuts, particularly pine nuts. Really, if you want to elevate this, if you've got some frozen cherries, putting them on the roasting tray with the broccoli will do that little bit of a sweet hit with the salmon. It will be really lovely. Yeah, so many options there, and fresh herbs can work really well as well to just kind of add that freshness. So if you've got mint or parsley in the garden, like they work really well. And if you were entertaining and you wanted to make this a little bit fancier for your guests, I'd think about like serving it with a side salad. So I've actually got a beautiful tabbouleh recipe, my best ever almond tabbouleh. So I'll link to that on the recipe page. So if you just click on the link below the video and have a look at the written recipe, you'll see on my blog, you'll see links to the almond tabbouleh recipe there as well. Yeah, so that's all the options. And of course, in terms of problem solving, if you don't have an oven, you can cook these in in the air fryer. So I'd probably do like 200C, which is 400F in the air fryer, and then just turn it after about 8 minutes. And that might be long enough, depending on how powerful your air fryer is, but it might need a little bit longer. Or you can pan fry as well. So I would, if I was pan frying, I'd cook the broccoli straight from frozen in the hot pan, no oil, no nothing, just cover it and just stir it every couple of minutes until the broccoli defrosts, get it out of the pan, wipe your pan out, and then you could pan fry the salmon. Probably better to defrost the salmon if you're pan frying, but I guess you probably could cook it from frozen as well. I haven't even tried that. Okay, I'm coming up with ideas for myself. And can you make this ahead of time? Yes, you can. Like this will keep really well in the fridge, and you can either just let it come up to room temperature, or you can warm it up to like just reheat it to serve it with it, but just keep the hummus separately. And then when you're serving, serve it with the hummus. But leftovers are going to last in the fridge for like a week, or somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks, if you've got it in a good airtight container. So yeah, you can definitely do this ahead of time, and you can freeze leftovers as well. Okay, so that's it for today. And I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Are you a frozen broccoli fan? Do you love it? Or do you hate the stuff? Leave a comment below and let me know. I would really love to hear from you. It would make my day. Okay, so have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.